What I'm about to share with you is going to benefit you greatly. It's going to save you a whole lot of money, and most importantly, it's going to prevent a whole lot of stress. So grab a pen and a piece of paper. You're going to want to take notes. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. My name is Wayne Turner. For nearly 30 years, I've bought, flipped, built, done just about everything in real estate. I share that with you over at the channel, WayneTurnerTV.com, so you can have the confidence knowing that what you learn from me is from actual experience. Now, what I want to share with you is how you can purchase a house and land in the country for just $1,000. I'm going to walk you through the steps to find it, what not to do, most importantly, what to do, how to get your money right, how to get the best deal on any piece of land out in the country. Now, if you haven't noticed, it's pretty quiet out here. You don't hear anything but maybe a horse or pig or a chicken or whatever it may be, and that's just peaceful. That's what a lot of people want. A lot of people, when they're buying their first house, they want a little place out in the rural area. And there's loan programs that are available through the United States Department of Agriculture, and those loans only require $1,000 down. Now, you have to qualify for the loan. You have to have a 620 or higher credit score. You have to have proof of income. If you have Social Security, if you have inheritance, if you have money that's consistently coming in, that can be used as your income to show proof that you can in fact afford a piece of property just like this one. Now, it's also important to know that you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You can actually purchase a piece of property. Perhaps you've owned a home before. What you can't own is a house or any type of home and get a USDA loan. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer. You could have owned a home, you could have sold a home, and they're not really concerned about how much money you have in the bank. But this is a way in which you can start to purchase a piece of property if you don't have a whole lot of cash. We have agents all around the country. They help people with closing costs. They ask the seller to pay the closing costs. 90% of the time that gets paid. So bottom line is, you purchase a piece of property, barns, rules, trees, fences that's already established, and you only need $1,000 out of pocket. Now, something else that's important to know is these homes aren't always out into the country. They're in rural areas, suburban areas. So even if you don't want to live way out in the country, you don't have to. Some people just want to live on the outskirts. They just want peace and quiet. But typically, these USDA loans, you don't have to live very far. 25 to 30 miles outside of town puts you in those areas. You can go to USDA.gov and you can actually click and look on a map, and it will show you based on your city, your county, your state, whether or not you qualify based on your area for these types of USDA loans. Now, it is important to know that not all banks offer these types of loans, but many of them do, and many credit unions offer these types of loans, because you have to understand, these loans are basically insured by the federal government, the United States government, United States Department of Agriculture. So they follow under the same guidelines as FHA, the Federal Housing Administration. And by doing that, that allows you to purchase a house and land. And what's really cool is it doesn't have to be a stick-built home. It can be a double-wide mobile home on any piece of property. Now, there are some restrictions to a double-wide. You can't just have any double-wide. It's got to be a modular home, mobile home that's on a permanent foundation, because USDA follows under the same guidelines as FHA. And that means that the home has to be on a permanent foundation. And they do that by basically digging concrete footings and anchoring the home to the ground and then putting underpinning under it. Once they do that, you can purchase a home for $1,000 out of pocket, whether it's a stick-built home or home built in a factory. Now, regardless of the construction of the home, you still have to understand that you can still have the home inspected, and you'll want to have it inspected. Not just inspected, but it's okay to do a mold inspection, an HVAC inspection, a plumbing inspection. You can do all that, but at the very minimum, you want to do a general home inspection. Now, once you inspect the property, at that point, your real estate agent will sit down with you and go, okay, what are the items that are not working to their intended function? The home inspection is going to give you a huge list. And at that point, you take that list and you circle and check the things that are most prevalent, that are most important to you, that you want the seller to fix on the property, whether it be a broken window, a leaky faucet, some rotted wood around a door jamb. You can ask them to do that. 99% of the time, they will do that for you gladly, because they want to sell you the property, and they'll fix those things typically 4 to 5 days before closing. You'll do a walkthrough before the closing to ensure that all those items are fixed. But that's basically how it works when it comes to any sort of inspection. You simply ask the seller, they'll tell you yes or no, and it kind of goes back to negotiations. You can ask for everything on the list. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to fix it. That doesn't mean they have to fix anything, but oftentimes homeowners will gladly fix anything that you request, because keep in mind, Their home is for sale and they want you to purchase their home. Now, something else I always tell people to do is you want to walk the property. You want to walk the property when it's raining, when it's sunny outside. You want to look for any kind of settlement of water. You also want to know that you can have the property inspected for the septic system. If there's a septic system on a property, you want to make sure everything is working to its intended function, as well as a well. So if you got a well on a property and a septic system on a property, just don't take it for granted that that system is actually working. You want to make sure that you have it inspected. You want to make sure that the pump's working on the actual well, that the holding tank's not leaking. You want to make sure the septic system is working properly, it's up to code. And oftentimes, electric meters, you want to make sure where's the electricity, how far is it, all of that stuff goes into play. And you have to know that you reserve the right to do a home inspection on any property. Once you do the inspection, once again, you can ask the seller to pay for those items for you. If they choose not to fix it, you simply don't have to purchase the property and you get your deposit back. But look, you have to know this, and I'm not trying to frighten or scare anybody, but you have to know that if you do everything, your due diligence during that time frame, you have it inspected, you have the HVAC, you have absolutely everything looked at. Once everything's looked at on the property and you're happy and fine with it, and you put that in writing, if you decide you don't want to purchase the property, you can do that. But you have to know that if you don't purchase that property, you can lose your deposit. Not only can you lose your deposit, but you can be sued for specific performance to the contract. That's something you never want to deal with. If you get sued, it could cost you 10% of the amount of the property in damages. And yes, it has happened. Now, people oftentimes ask me about appraisals. What about the appraisal on the property? The bank's going to send out an appraiser to appraise the property to make sure they're not overspending, they're not overlending, you're not overspending, if you will. That runs around $400, and that's the cost, if you will, part of the $1,000. You pay for the $400 to have it appraised. You also want to pay for it to be inspected. Now, a lot of people say, well, Wayne, what if it doesn't appraise? What if I purchase this home and I agree to purchase it for $200,000? It only appraises for $190,000. At that point, you can certainly split the difference with the seller. We see that oftentimes. But sometimes there's buyers are like, I'm not paying more than what the appraiser says the property's valued at. And if that's the case, you just have to explain that to the seller, show them a copy of the appraiser, and basically just say, we don't want to purchase the property. We're not going to purchase the property. And many times they agree and understand that it's only worth what a buyer's willing to pay for it. It's also worth what a seller's willing to sell it for. Once that's agreed upon, you sign it and you get the property. But I can tell you, it doesn't happen too often because most good real estate agents have done their homework, they've done their due diligence, and just like real estate appraisers, they have access to the same exact database. So they're looking at comparable properties that have closed in the last 6 months within a 3-mile radius of the subject property that you're purchasing. Now, a huge financial benefit to buying homes that are already established on a piece of property is oftentimes they have barns like the one I'm standing in now. So if you want any kind of horses, farm animals, chickens, pigs, whatever it may be, it's already established. This is a 6-stall horse barn that I'm standing in. It's got room for chicken coops, pigs right outside, anything that you want. But you not only want to look at the structure of the property, you want to make sure that you're walking the boundaries of the property. Never buy a property without seeing a survey, walking the property, knowing exactly what you're about to purchase, knowing that when you buy it, it's yours and no one's encroaching upon your land. And of course, the reason for that is to know if anybody's encroaching upon that land, the seller's responsible for making sure they're not, and it's done, and there's no fence of a neighbor's or anything like that. Because the last thing you want to do is purchase a piece of property and have their fence encroaching upon your property. So listen, if you need help finding a piece of property, land, houses, whatever it may be, go to WayneTurner.com, click buying. We can connect you with an agent anywhere you are. Be sure and click the like button, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I promise you, you will learn something new on every single video.